So Ember's going to be starting off here with an oval, and it's going to be about the size of like a medium-sized potato or smaller, up to you, depends how hungry you are. And you'll notice I'm going to draw this oval here like it's on its side, and we're going to make as many as we need, keeping this line very light right now. There is no need to block anything in just yet or make it too dark. We're just using this as a guideline. Now, once we have our oval in place though, I'm going to make that a little darker for people. My camera's misbehaving a bit. Once we have that in place, we're going to go ahead and give ourselves some construction lines. Now the first part is we're going to cut our potato in half, right down the middle this way. Now the next line, we're going to be putting at a little bit of a curve. So we're going to make this long, stretched out letter U, bringing it right across this way. The lowest point is going to be about a third of the way from the bottom of our oval. Now we've kept everything pretty light right now, but we're going to start to work on really building out Ember's shape. And we're actually going to start off by drawing her body here at the bottom. Now this shape's going to be looking like a wine glass that's standing on the top, upside down. So we're going to start off by making these two curved parentheses kind of arching towards this way, like we're making an hourglass. And then make this nice curve, very stretched out J curves, or almost like candy canes, coming right to either side. Now, Elemental has some really cool effects and thoughts that go into the different characters because they are actually the elements of each one that they represent. Now, since Ember is made of fire, her clothes are actually made out of a fire-resistant material like chainmail or like these metal scales. And so we're going to add that in now. We're going to make these two lines coming right to either side this way. And these are going to be the first real lines we lock in. You'll see I'm pressing down a little bit harder. I'm really emphasizing those lines more than everything else. And that way, we'll be able to tell those lines from apart. And as we lock these in, they're going to really make our construction lines fade into the background. I'm going to add these curved lines right here, like we're making one of those stick figure birds, and lightly draw through the back to give her the hood or collar that she has on this outfit. Now I did say that this is made out of like a scale mail or a chain mail material, so we do want to give that texture, and we're just going to go ahead and make some lines coming just a cross pattern right this way. It's going to look like a chain link fence. You can add as many or as few of these as you want to. Now the movie Elemental was directed by a man named Peter Sohn. Now if you're not familiar with that name, I add just a couple more lines here to really build out that collar. Peter Sohn has been involved with Pixar for quite some time. In fact, he's done plenty of voice work as well. In fact, he was originally used as the inspiration for a character from Up who was very keen to explore the wilderness. Now, does anyone want to see what he looked like to see that bit of relation? Yeah. All right, there you go. Yeah, so you can kind of see the resemblance there. Apparently when they were doing that movie, someone mentioned that he must have made a really cute kid. Well, he didn't. Now that we have this in place, we're going to go ahead and lock in the sides of her arms right over here, and we're going to start to work on Ember's, the silhouette for her head. Now, as I said earlier, she is made out of fire, so at this point, we're going to just go ahead and extend these lines out just past our initial oval, because we're going to be adding those flames to either side. Now, something that they did very uniquely for the movie Elemental that they have not really done before was the visual effects team and the story team working very close hand in hand. Normally visual effects are kind of contacted after everything's done to kind of add in various effects, but since these characters were made of the elements themselves, they had to be involved the entire step of the process. Now I'm going to be adding in these three big flames coming up, but you can add as many or as few of these as you want. Ember's really got a bit of a temper on her, but it's actually not because she's got a poor attitude about things. We see throughout the film, She works the store with her parents, and they have just recently moved to Element City. And with that, they have this store, and she really just wants to make her family proud. She really wants to show them everything and like follow in the footsteps of everything they built for her. But for Ember, we realize, and she realizes, that's not what she wants to do herself. And a lot of this comes back to Peter Sohn's own family history for when his family moved here from Korea, and he really wanted to explore being in art, but his family wasn't all that thrilled about that. It wasn't really a set, really stable choice, so they were a little worried about that. But he did end up following his dreams, just as we see Ember do in this film as well. I'm just going to go ahead and start to lock these in. While I'm doing that, we also get to see a lot of the designs for Element City that takes a long time to do. Water and fire are some of the hardest things ever to animate. So the two characters being the leads, being literally water and fire, added a lot of extra time for this film, but it really paid off. This film is absolutely gorgeous, and you can see the investment and the time that they've really spent to make these characters look as good as possible. They even went so far as to make their own language named Firish for the fire people in this film. And this was actually made by David J. Peterson, who also made the languages for Game of Thrones and Dune as well. So now that we have our flames locked in, I'm going to add a couple sparks to either side. But we've also kind of reached a midpoint, so I do want to do a quick check-in. We've done a quick few different steps. So how are we all feeling about our drawing so far? Great, fantastic. I'm glad to hear that one person's super excited and everyone else is stunned into silence by how well they're doing. Let me ask you guys a different question. Are we having fun?
Yes.
That is the most important part about artwork. You always want to make sure you're having a good time. Now, I'm going to give folks a chance to catch up, tell you one of my favorite scenes from this film, which really emphasizes that these characters are, in fact, just literally water and fire. And you see this all throughout the film. Wade is apparently very terrified of sponges because he got stuck in one as a child. At one point, there's a chain link fence that they literally just walk through and even ask, why do we have these? Because it doesn't seem to do anything. But looks like everyone's looking up right now. You guys ready to keep going?
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going then. So now, we do want to give Ember some ways of seeing her way around. So we're going to give her her eyes. But before we give her her eyes, though, we do need to make sure we give her her nose, which is like a nice anchor point for all of her features. Now, since she is just fire, her nose is just this curved little triangle right here in the middle. And then her eyes are going to be these large almond shapes to either side. Now to start these off, we're going to make this nice swooping line coming up and around, moving pretty much towards from the nose corner to about 2/3 of the way to the outside of our oval. And then from here, we're just going to lock this line back down, but they're not going to touch back the original line. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to give her some lash lines. She does have a very pronounced upper lash line. She probably visits the equivalent of Sephora. But we do want to make sure her eyes are equally done first before we move on to that. Bless you. Bless you again. I hope you're not allergic to fire. This makes this class very awkward. Now, once we have these eyes in place here, we're going to add those lashes I mentioned, and these are going to just be 3 sharpened shapes coming off the outside of each one. The last one on the outside will be the longest, and they're just moving a little bit thinner to each side. Now, this film has some great visual gags as well, but also, again, they show a lot of various inspiration and attention to the nature of these characters. And especially though, when the two of them interact, because as you can imagine, their families are a little bit concerned about some of this, especially Ember's family. They don't really think this is going to work out, because even when they touch one another, fire and water don't really mix that well. But at the end, they really find a way to work things out, but it also tells a great story of a bit of a clash of cultures between the two of them. Now at the moment, Ember looks like she just got off the Haunted Mansion. So we're gonna go ahead and wake up the character. Her pupils are very large ovals. They're gonna take up the majority of the space that we have here in her eye. And they're gonna go all the way down to that eye line that we made earlier. But with those plaster cultures that we have, we also see a lot of like really tender moments between the two of them. Like Wade really is a heartfelt character who really tries to understand Ember as much as possible. And sometimes he even has to admit that sometimes he just doesn't understand her culture, what she's going through. Because they're not just a culture clash, but very much like he's had a great family, they're very well off, hers is still a little bit more struggling. But at the end, they really do make it work at the same time. Now Ember, whenever she is talking to Wade though, always has a little bit more of a suspicious or like smirking look to him. So we're gonna give her kind of a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson look. And we're gonna do her eyebrows now. Now her eyebrow over here on the left is gonna be up and arching above hand. It's gonna be this very built up crescent shape or rainbow. You would think it's like a crescent moon that's on its side. And her other eye is gonna be down a bit further, almost a flat line right above her eye on this end. Just gonna scoop it up to the inside here and then just bring it right back to the outside. Now at this point, Ember looks like she is seriously questioning many, many choices. So we're gonna give her a smile. It is Valentine's Day. She's got her boyfriend around, so she's gonna be a bit happier. But she doesn't really ever smile super, super huge like Wade does. Instead, she's got a little bit more of a reserved smile, but still a very tender and sweet one. Now for this, we're just gonna add in this little letter U really stretched out here, just to build it up a little bit wider. Now this next step we're gonna do to finish up is gonna be just a bit of extra credit, but we're gonna add in just some tone for Ember, just to show some of that fire and that different variance that you would get from flames. Now, for every parent in the audience, I do apologize, but I'm gonna tell you guys all a trick to really make this look good. Use the side of your pencil here, like a crayon, and we're gonna add some just tone to those flames at the top and underneath each cheek. And if you really wanna blend this out smoothly, go and use your finger and just kind of smooth this out to make it a nice even shade. And for all the parents out there whose kids or fingers are about to get messy, hand sanitizer takes this right off. But at this point, you can add in anything else you'd like. Maybe you want to add in her family into the background. I'm going to go ahead and shade in her outfit as well. Maybe you want to add in Wade. Whatever you want to do, that's totally up to you. But the most important step for any artist now, find your favorite spot on your page to sign your name. So now each and every one of you have drawn your very own Ember.